Tonight's on Docutrons. Assemble!
Okay, so where to begin? That is always the question, Doc. Where to begin?
I thought the question was to be or not to be.
No, the question is where to begin. Here we are in Renegade Beaver Studios. It was Renegade Beaver Studios, LLC, but I wasn't making any money from it, so I just dropped it because, you have to pay to have paperwork filed, so I didn't want to do that. So it is just Renegade Beaver Studios. It's just Renegade Beaver Studios now. This is Beaveman and the Doc, and I am the Beaveman, and here with me is...
The Doc.
The Doc. Here we are. No shit, if you will. There's a lot going on in the world right now. A lot of things.
Well, there's plenty of shit, so when you say no shit, you should be a little more specific, shouldn't you?
I guess. Yeah, there's so much shit going on that sometimes I was wondering if there's any particular topic that I should tackle because there's so many topics to tackle. It's actually getting a little bit goofy out there.
What, mind reading? Is that what that's all about?
Oh, you're my Scientific American?
Yeah.
No, that's actually a really interesting article about they placed some, would it be chips or electrodes, basically, into the brains of persons who are quadriplegic, paraplegic, and used their neurological symptom training with them for them to actually be able to control a robotic arm. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, I read an article a while back that talked about trying to use mechanical bridging in the spinal cord. Basically, they bypass the damaged area and deliver signals from the last good part of the neuron down into the rest of the neuron.
Yeah, it's a really good article. This is from Scientific American. Let me throw a plug out to them in case they just someday want to sponsor me and have me do a Scientific American lighter side podcast for them, which we all know that's going to happen. No, this article is about what they call a brain-machine interface. That is not what we're talking about today, but Doc was being nosy and looked at my magazine.
Yeah, well, it's laying out there for the whole world to see. Well, me anyway.
I guess, for the whole world to see, and I don't know about the whole world to see.
Well, I am the eyes and ears of the whole world at the moment.
You are the investigative journalist of the nation and or world. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if I'd qualify as a journalist.
I definitely would not. I would also not qualify as a journalist.
I think nosy asshole would be a better title than journalist for me. More fitting.
I like to think of myself as continuously trying to discover. How about that?
Yeah, curious.
Curiouser and curiouser, if you will.
Just not Curious George.
No, why didn't the man in the yellow hat just give George a good smacking?
Sometimes he needed it.
Of course, I guess if you were... What kind of monkey was George? I don't know. Other than being a curious one. He probably could... He's probably stronger than a couple men, so he would have been the one slapping him around or ripping his genitals or face off. Because that's what they do. They go for the genitals in the face.
Unless they if they made a Curious George movie, I think capuchins are they look cool, and people just love them.
They look cool. They look cool and people love them.
Yeah, I think that would be the best choice.
They did make a George movie.
Did they?
Yeah, it was really good. It was really cute. I can't remember who the star was, but it was actually so long ago. Your boy would have been a little kid. I took Skyler when he was really little.
Was it Brendan Fraser? No, that was Monkey Bone.
Monkey Bone, Tarzan. He did the Tarzan movie also.
Oh God, have you seen him lately?
He's doing Doom Patrol, which I was starting to get a little bit disappointed with Doom Patrol. I thought it wasn't going to be very good. It started to slack off a little bit because it started off pretty strong. But yeah, he's not missing any meals.
Yeah,
I guess you could say.
I almost didn't recognize him.
It looks like someone ate Brandon Fraser.
Or Brandon Fraser ate someone else.
Right. But again, that's not our topic for today. The topic for today is what's going on right now in our nation, specifically with the measles outbreak. What have you heard about the measles outbreak?
Yeah. And, for the most part, I think that vaccinations are a good thing. But I can understand why people are concerned.
Well, I can also understand why people are concerned.
Because my thinking, my wife and I, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. And
now, was your wife allowed to have an opinion? Or did
sure.
you tell her to shut the fuck up?
No, dude, I'm alive, so that didn't happen.
Chata?
Huh?
Have you met Chata?
Probably not. I don't recognize that name.
You don't know Chata?
No.
Shut the fuck up.
Anyway, we were talking about that, and the arguments were on one side where people are saying, yeah, well, you have to get vaccinated because you're exposing all these kids to the measles. Well, if your kids are vaccinated, then they don't have to worry about the measles, do they? And if they do, then the vaccinations don't necessarily work, which means that people should have a choice as to whether or not they want to inject that into their bodies or their kids' bodies. So, I mean, it's a difficult argument on both sides.
Well, I think that the most important thing about the argument is that, once again, people have this belief that they know more than they actually do, for one thing. There's also this problem. You can look at it from multifaceted. Some people may look at it and say, well, I don't want to be told what to do. That's a common phenomenon. I don't want to be told what to do, so I'm not going to vaccinate myself. Okay, I can understand that standpoint. There are very few mainstream religions that reject vaccinations. Not common. And there are very few, I guess, allergies that you would say related to getting the MMR that are contradictory to getting, or contraindicated for that vaccine. So,
about every medication nowadays has some sort of side effect.
The problem is that there are people, specifically, mostly heavily influenced in the United States by people that don't know anything, that are pushing the agenda of the anti-vaccines. Now, I can understand what the people are saying about not wanting to have vaccines administered for multiple reasons, but what they don't understand is the basic premise or the basic science behind vaccinations, which is your body mounting an immune response. So therefore, vaccines are probably more of the more natural things that you could put into your body as opposed to other things that people randomly and continuously put into their body, especially when they want to do something like lose weight.
Well, if you take a vaccine, for example, for the measles, just one example, and does that necessarily make you immune to the measles?
About 97%.
97%.
So the measles mumps rubella vaccine is, it's usually a 2-series shot. So you get the first shot around the age of 12 to 15 months. Okay, that gives you about 93% immunity. Okay, you get the second shot, you get the booster shot or the second shot around the preschool age time frame.
5 or 6 years old at
That's 97% effectiveness. So can you still get the measles if you've had the vaccine? Sure. The thing that people don't understand about the measles, and they're like, oh, it's no big deal. Yeah, you're right. For the majority of the population, measles is not that big of a deal. They might get, they can get a high rash, they get their cough, the runny nose, the watery eyes, they get the rash, the high fever, and the majority of people will do okay. And now you're more than likely immune to the measles. However, measles is also probably the most contagious virus known to humans that we're aware of. And people die from the measles or have long-term sequelae or adverse effects long-term from having the measles. Most people do really well with it. The problem is, like we said, is, in my opinion, the problem is misinformation. That's the problem. The problem is misinformation and people who don't know anything professing to know shit about stuff that they know nothing about.
Well, I think it boils down to the most simple arguments is a question of logic. Like I said, if if the vaccines made you 100% immune, then I would say it's worth any risk of side effects to get the vaccination. And I think most people would probably agree with that. But because it's not 100% effective, then you've got these people who have already been vaccinated trying to make the people who have not been vaccinated get vaccinated. And because it's not 100% sure, I can see why people would say, well, I don't want it because it's not 100% effective.
But these same people will take a weight loss pill. That
yeah,
are
probably
completely ineffective, that have a success rate of 0 to 10, maybe. These same people will shove all kinds of fake shit in their pie holes, but won't get a vaccine. So how did we get to this point? That's what I want to know. How did we get to the point where we're at right now? The medical system in general, and I've touted this before, also let me throw out the caveat that I'm not going to get super technical either. We're going to keep it in lay terms. I've listened to my podcast, and I don't get really technical in the first place, but I'm going to get even less technical now. As I've said a million times, why am I interested in this subject? Well, because I'm a human, for one thing, and I don't want to have a disease that was basically eliminated from the United States come back.
Well, I think that's part of why it's making a comeback, because for so long people didn't necessarily I'm not sure I've ever been vaccinated against the measles. Honestly, I don't know.
Well, you were in the Navy.
Yeah, so I'd probably been.
If you didn't get vaccinated as a kid, which you probably did, you got vaccinated in the Navy.
Well, anyway, there's so many people intermingling from different countries back and forth across the border, and especially
which I totally condone. People should intermingle. I'm not racist like Doc.
That's not racism.
When he says intermingle, he seems to have some sort of nefarious connotation. Please continue.
I don't even know what to say to you after that. Anyway, you get so much back and forth across the border. New things are going to cross and come in. I mean, what was it a few years ago? What was it that they was it Ebola that?
Keep in mind though, you're talking about borders as a generalized term, not
necessarily specifically the southern border.
You're not talking about either one. You're not talking about
although that is a big part of that problem as well. But we can have that conversation later.
Well, from an epidemiological standpoint, the majority of our illnesses are not coming from Mexico or Canada.
No, probably not.
No,
most of them are crossing from.
We're talking from Europe.
Well, yeah, Europe, South Africa, or African area anyway. But well, I mean, consider the temperature over there. It makes a good breeding ground for bacteria if you don't necessarily wash or have water to wash things properly.
Except we're talking about viruses, but
yeah,
I get what you mean.
Yeah,
I get what you mean. The point is, like you said, we are a global people, essentially. In other words, it's not. Well, I wouldn't even go back too far, because if you went back really far, people did do probably more traveling than maybe 30 years ago. So people go to multiple nations, and the vaccination standards or even the types of illnesses you will encounter in other nations are not the ones that we encounter here necessarily. For example, I learned about measles in nursing school and in nurse practitioner school. I learned what measles was. I, however, have never seen measles.
So why don't they make it a requirement if you're going to travel to the United States that you be vaccinated before you do?
Well, is that well, I don't know how we can regulate other nations what they do. But for example,
well, if they want to come here.
For example, though, if you wanted to go from here to the Ukraine, and we said you have to have this vaccination, would you get it because we said you had to get it? Is it constitutional for us to say that you have to get this vaccine?
I don't think so. But the Constitution technically only applies to United States citizens.
That's what I mean. So
other citizens are guided,
I can't say from
by
them coming
their...
to us. So can we regulate? We would have to then say people from France coming here. Well, you can't come here unless you have that vaccine.
Correct.
Well, Can
there
we
is
restrict
nothing.
people from another country?
There is.
We already can't restrict people from another country.
We're not
here,
restricting them. We're telling them if they want to come
which
here, they
violates
have
their
to
human
be
rights,
vaccinated.
which violates their human rights.
No.
Yeah, it does. That's the whole issue that we have come in contact with now is when people are trying to say that it's unconstitutional here in this country that we can't. We're telling people you have to. If we said you have to get vaccinated,
The rights guaranteed by the Constitution again only apply to United States citizens.
right? But you're trying to regulate what someone from another country who's just coming here for a work visa or whatever, what they get. How can you impose that on another country's citizen?
Because
When
we
have open borders.
Because no, we don't.
We basically do have open.
Basically,
you can apply to come here,
but according to the law, we don't.
Yeah, but you can't. You're still missing my point. You're missing my human rights point. You're trying to tell someone from France, an industrialized nation that's a partner with ours that we don't want to piss off, just like all the other nations. It's not like it's some little piddly country that nobody's ever heard of that we can say, okay, yeah, you can't come here for this reason. You're talking about like a nation like that. You're going to insult that nation and say, oh, you can't come here unless you get this vaccine.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have no problem with that.
That's probably why you're not a politician. Probably why you're not a politician. So we don't try to, well, I would say that we don't try to piss off other nations intentionally, but the president that we have now apparently does try to piss off other nations intentionally. I don't have a problem.
He's just not coddling to people. That's
Oh,
all.
come on. Give me a fucking break. He's not coddling to people. That guy is so ignorant, Doc. You actually think that he's intelligent?
I think he's got some intelligent people working for him.
But he's not intelligent. And when he professes to be, he just shows his own ignorance. Take the MMR vaccine. Take the vaccine itself. When he was doing the presidential debates, he stood right up there and said that the MMR vaccine causes autism. When the National Institute of Health and the Centers for Disease Control and 20 plus studies of multiple nations have proven that it doesn't.
Well, he also said that windmills cause cancer.
Not only did he say that it did, but he said just 2 weeks ago, this 2-year-old child, he is a member of our staff. He went and got the vaccine and he had this horrible reaction, and now he has autism. We're like, just 2 weeks ago, dude? Really? There's no that person doesn't even exist. That guy is so full of shit. Actually, originally, when he first got elected, I was like, well, this is comedy gold, but now everything is just so fucked up that I'm like, it's not comedy gold anymore. It's pathetic.
I bet you he gets reelected.
I bet you he doesn't.
How much?
He won't get my vote. He's not getting my vote. Anyway, God, there's that stupid smack. Anyway, the point is, my question is, how did we get here? What brought us to this point? What's brought us to this low, this overall low in general?
Multiculturalism.
Well, I don't...
We have a lack of common bond because everybody wants to do something different and they want to make everybody else be like them.
No, I don't know. I mean, there's part of that, but I'm talking about in the medical community itself because really our country is the one that has this problem. It's not as bad in the other industrial nations. The anti-vaccination movement is not as bad in other countries as it is here. They're not having the measles outbreaks in a country that had basically eliminated measles like we are.
In France, I think they do have laws saying that, well, I think it only counts towards specific countries, but they do have laws that there are vaccinations you have to get before you can go to France, for example.
Well, we used to have laws here that said you couldn't go to school unless you were vaccinated. And then laws got passed saying that you could have it, you could abstain from vaccinations for personal reasons or quasi-political reasons or whatever particular reason. So that's what I'm saying. In this country, it's not such a... I don't think in this country it's a matter that we are so much more educated than everybody else. I think it's that we are so easily manipulated into believing bullshit.
Well, that's true because, for every statistic you can quote, I can probably go out there and find statistics that say completely opposite. And both would argue that they're right and the other one's wrong. I think statistics are bullshit. They can be manipulated depending on. I mean, they claim double blinds and all these other measures that they take, but sometimes just asking the question is biased. Period.
Well, that's true. If you're not honest in the study that you've done, for example, if you're not honest in the study you've done. For example, let's say I want to do a study that says that I think that hair loss is directly related to the use of Prilosec. Sorry, Prilosec.
OTC.
OTC. Say I want to do that study. Okay.
We did not get paid to say that, by the way.
But let's say also that I've been approached by a company that sells you a supplement that they say grows hair. Okay.
Mm.
I do this study. I don't randomize my test subjects. I don't do any double blind, whatever. I don't do any of that. And I also don't disclose the fact that I'm getting money from this company that makes this supplement that's supposed to grow hair. No matter what and let's say I actually prove, quote unquote, that hair loss is directly related to the use of Prilosec OTC. Sorry, Prilosec. It's not that I know of. Let's say my study looks really good and I prove it. Okay?
Mm.
And I prove it. And it's peer reviewed. I submit it to a journal. The journal decides it's going to publish it. They peer review it. They do an editorial, all that good stuff. It gets published. Okay? Is that study accurate?
No.
No, exactly. Because it's a biased study. I wanted to prove that it was related, even though it wasn't. And not only that, I didn't disclose that I had any type of financial interest in it being accurate. So the people who peer reviewed my article didn't know that. If they'd have known that when they read my article, they'd have been like, oh, this is bullshit.
And there are also some things that can't be statistically proven. And they'll go on about their study and generate their statistics as if they can. And people treat them as if their word is Hoyle, and it's just not.
Well, I don't know
it's a statistic. I mean, if you're going to a casino and you want to use statistics to try and determine whether or not you're going to win,
well, you're not. You're going to lose.
Right. But do you see what I'm saying?
You're going to lose anyway.
You could say that the odds are against you, but then you go in there and you win a couple $1,000s and you leave with more money than you started, and then you say, well, the statistics are bullshit.
Well, it would only be accurate, though, if you never ever gambled again and that was the first time you ever gambled. Long term wise, you're going to lose it again anyway.
I'd say overall I've broken even.
I'd say overall I shouldn't gamble. I go with $20 and that's it. No, but my point is back to what you said. Now, I don't read a lot of studies anymore. I only read like medical studies. So I don't read anything basically other than that. So the rest of the other stuff would be like articles, firsthand articles. They're not reporting. They're not research articles like reading in Scientific American or reading in Wired, things like that. Those aren't studies.
Interest pieces.
They're just reporting on whatever they've done, etc. There's no real data in there. But I would say that the majority of the studies you read that are medical studies don't set out to prove anything. They set out to show what their study did. So most of them now don't say, oh, we proved this. That's not usually what they say. Usually what they said is, this is what our study showed.
I think that would be classified as academic review. They talk about other people's studies.
No, that's different. That's like a meta-analysis.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just talking in general. Let's say I did that. Let's say I read an article on the same study that I was just talking about.
Right.
That Prilosec OTC causes hair loss. It doesn't. Prilosec. Once again, I'm sorry. What I would do at the conclusion of my study is I would say, this is the results that we came up with, okay, in these patients. This is the statistical model that we used. So it's all out there in the open. So you can see all their stats. You can see the regression models, whatever. They list all their patient population and everything about them. And then at the end, they always say in the conclusion of their study, basically, this is what we found. And then they talk about what's wrong with their study. That's what they do now.
We didn't do this. We didn't do that.
And what they'll say is they're like, we understand this is the results of our study, but maybe our study was too small. Or maybe our study didn't look at this. Or maybe our study didn't look at that. And that's the majority of the medical stuff that I read now. The majority of the
people that would be reading that article probably wouldn't know any better. They'd see the main points that they make, and then they'd say, oh, well, that must be true.
And you make a good point, though. The majority of the people that are reading those things are not people who would generally get any benefit from reading those articles. They're looking at it a different eye than, say, I'm looking at it.
So then when that converts into politics, that's why we have such a mess, because people are undereducated. They're not thinking critically. They're taking other people's word for it instead of figuring things out for themselves.
Right. And I think another problem is that if you talk yourself into something enough, that you're going to self-delude and you're going to believe things to be true that are not true.
It can happen.
It can happen all too often. So I was looking at why we're here. And I know why we're here. If you think about it.
Because God was lonely. So he created us.
I mean, why we're here medically. Why do we have the measles outbreak? And the biggest one is in New York now. So we've got over, and then not just New York, but combined total between Washington State and New York State, they had the most in the country. So we're over 700 cases of measles.
Right.
In 2000, they declared measles eliminated from the United States. Not eradicated, eliminated. So in other words, they didn't have a frequent occurrence of it over a 12-month period of time. So they can eliminate it. Say it's eliminated. Great. Okay. Hence why I've never seen it. I've never seen measles. Other than when I was a kid, I saw measles, but not as a provider. I've never seen it. But I'm sure I'm gonna. So part of the reason why I think we're here now is because despite all the good things medicine has done every single day, no one gives a shit about the good stuff that gets done every single day. What we do care about is the controversy or the horrible things that happen. And I traced that back. The first one I remember, and this was way before I was ever born, was the problem with thalidomide. So if you ever heard of thalidomide babies, these were babies who were born with deformed upper extremities, lower arms and legs, deformed arms and legs. When I was a nurse, they told us they called them, and this is not a nice term, they called them flipper babies. So thalidomide, medication made by, I think, like a German company, okay, and it was designed for like a sleep aid, and it was also shown in pregnant women to help with morning sickness. And in some countries, like in Germany and in some European countries, apparently, you could get it over the counter. Now, I know that it was prescribed also, probably, I think they prescribed it in the United States also. Don't quote me. Like I said, this is not like a ton of research that I do. I'm going by that part memory and part research, what I looked up, but I do remember that whole thalidomide thing from school. I've never seen a thalidomide patient that I know of. So anyway, that particular medication, if you took it but you weren't pregnant, okay, it might work for your symptoms. Unfortunately, the pregnant women that took it started having babies with malformed upper and lower extremities. So here's a big hit to the medical community. Apparently, they never did any studies. Again, don't quote me. They didn't do any real studies, the pharmaceutical company, on pregnant test subject, like mice or whatever, pregnant mice or whatever animal they happen to be using. You can't do that with humans. It's not ethical. So they wouldn't have known, per se, that would cause it. But as soon as that happened and they decided that was the cause, pulled from the market, etc., don't give this medication. But that's a horrible occurrence that is still known now, and this was like in the 1950s and 1960s. So here we are 70 years later at some extremes, 40, 50, 60 years later.
I'd like to think that we've learned something between then and now.
But the thing is, there is no medical treatment that is 100% risk-free. There is no medical treatment that we can do that is 100% risk-free. And when people say things like, well, that's not 100%. Well, you're right. It's not. It's not 100%. Why do you think when you have a procedure done, they tell you this? Well, it might work. It might not work. You might be worse off than you were before. We might kill you.
When I had my ablation, they told me exactly that. If it doesn't work, we may have to do it again later on, or you may decide never to do it again and just live with the AFib,
Or we could make you worse.
Yeah.
Or we could kill you. Chances are pretty slim. Or you could have. They probably also told you might have a stroke.
Yeah. Well, that was stroke and the anesthetic.
Yeah.
Are usually the two most dangerous parts of the procedure.
Oh, yeah, anesthetic is very, very dangerous. When I had my ankle fixed, when I broke my ankle, they gave me all the same thing. They're like, okay, John, you know that all these things could possibly happen. We could kill you. You could end up on a ventilator, all these other things. I'm like, yeah, I know. And I don't like anesthetic. I didn't want anesthetic in the first place. I'm like, can I just be awake and you can do a peripheral nerve block on me and just fix my ankle? They're like, no, we can't do that. All right, I don't want to have anesthetic. Anyway, didn't have a choice. My ankle was not going to heal. It had to have a plate and screws. Okay.
That would suck.
It does. So what happened? All I remember is, of course, going to sleep, anesthetic. I wake up and they're like, John, breathe, 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 breathe. And I was like, oh, that's not good. And what happened was I got flash pulmonary edema.
Right.
Which they extubated me. My lungs just filled completely with fluid. Do I blame them for that happening? No. Because that's just one of those complications that could happen. Did they bring me out too fast? Maybe. Who knows? I wasn't there. I mean, I was there, but I really wasn't there. So I don't really know what happened. But that's a complication. Nothing that we do in medicine is 100% without risk.
Well, interestingly enough, when I went into the surgery, I did not have pneumonia. But when I got done with the surgery, I did.
And that's common. Pneumonia is a common complication of just going into the hospital. So when I look at those things, those bad things that have happened in medicine, it's evolution of medicine in general. There's things that we do now that we didn't do 10 years ago. There's things that we did 10 years ago that, maybe they did 20 years ago and we thought it was a bad idea and we brought it back. There's always this evolution. It's not uncommon for me to find out that we just don't, this isn't recommended anymore. And why is that important? Well, because it's evolution and we realize that we keep looking for the truth. And what doesn't happen when these little squeaky wheels make all this noise, and I go back to the whole MMR thing, why aren't people getting vaccinated? Because some douchebag by the name of, Andrew Wakefield, some fucking dickhead, in 1998 publishes a study in The Lancet that says there is a connection between the MMR vaccine, autism, and some form of colitis. He had, and if you want to look this up, you can look it up on Wikipedia. You can find plenty of articles on it. There's a really good video on YouTube done by, Brian Deere? He's the guy that really headed up investigating all this stuff. Really good video. You can find all kinds of stuff on it. And you can still find lots of videos from good old Andrew Wakefield saying that, no, he was right and everybody else is wrong. Well, here's the bottom line. He had 12 test subjects. 12 kids, okay, that he says had autism. They weren't all diagnosed with autism. They didn't all have colitis. He didn't prove shit. But because he had that article and Lancet published it, it catches on like wildfire, and then MMR vaccines go down and measles cases go up.
And that's why I say statistics are bullshit. Because most people
His statistics weren't even good. He had fraudulent data.
Exactly. I mean, it's so easy to just make shit up, and people buy into it.
Well, not only did he make shit up, but he had a financial vested interest in the MMR vaccine going down. Before he wrote that article, or before that article was released, he filed a patent for a single-dose measles vaccine. Before he even wrote this article. So then and he didn't disclose any of that. So his plan, and Mr. Wakefield, I guess I can call you Dr. Wakefield, even though you're not allowed to practice. They can't take our educational degree away. So even if I stop practicing, I'm still doctor.
Apparently they can. I've heard of colleges doing that.
Well, yeah, college could revoke it. I'm surprised they didn't revoke his, but I don't think they really go into it too much. Like I was saying, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not. But if you are, fuck you.
I knew you were going
Yeah,
to
you
say
knew
that.
that was coming. So he has a financial interest. Well, because of this douchebag, nobody wants to get their MMR vaccine. Now, he never says that. I've not read the article, but I've listened to his interviews and I've listened to all this other stuff. He didn't ever say not to get vaccinated. That's not really what he said. He didn't say don't get vaccinated. What he said was single dose. They call them jabs in Britain, I guess. Single dose shots. Separate out the vaccine instead of having a combined vaccine. Now, I will say that I don't disagree with that. And the reason why is this. It's the same reason why I don't always like to give combo medications. Because if you have a side effect from one of those medications,
Hard to tell which one it came from.
I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
Now, I am not unique in that respect. There are lots of my colleagues that feel the same way. But we still follow that stepwise approach. And we still depend on the, I guess you would say, the global opinion. I am not on some board deciding what the best treatment guidelines are. No one, for some reason, the CDC has never called me and asked me to sit on any boards. Neither has the National Institute of Health or anyone else. And I'm not surprised because I'm nobody special. I'm not some published author and I'm not some academic or anything like that. The point is this. I don't know everything. And I have to put my faith in those people that do a lot of research and set up guidelines. So there's a reason why we listen to what the American College of Cardiology tells us when it comes to the heart. There's a reason why we listen to the ADA when it comes to diabetes. There's a reason why we listen to them because that's what they do. They're the ones who publish those studies on those things. Here we had a guy who's a gastroenterologist telling us the MMR causes autism. A gastroenterologist trying to make some direct correlation between autism and some form of colitis, but didn't prove that any of those kids had colitis, and some of them had autism and some of them didn't. And then he has a financial interest. So regardless of whether he did that or not, for
Just
whatever
casting a shadow over his competition to try and get his foot in the door on the market.
So he could not only market this measles, this separate vaccine, but also he was going to had some plans for different test kits to test for different things that he would have also made income from. The point is, those douchebags are out there, but when you have some other studies and large groups and specialists refuting this and proving that it's fraudulent, he was proved fraudulent. Hence why he's got his rights to practice gone. There's been multiple studies that have proved him wrong, but we still have all these anti-vaxxers telling everybody that you'll get autism if you give your kid will get autism if you give them the MMR. We've had autism forever. It's just probably more diagnosed now than it ever was. Some of these kids, I'm not sure they have autism.
You know what else has been around a lot longer than people really consider? You know, everybody thinks that cancer is caused by some new chemical or something that we've always been, or that we've been exposing ourselves to. But cancer is an old problem. I mean, they found, some Egyptian pharaoh who died of cancer. And it was caused by...
Well, I think he died of age, though, too, because we can for sure say that he would not be alive now.
Well, it was a she, so maybe pharaoh isn't the correct term. Pharaoh. Well, she was in charge for a little while, but apparently her family, according to what they were able to learn about her family had some sort of skin condition. So this cream that she was being given to put on the skin condition was causing cancer.
Well, they used all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know where I heard it, and it might be bullshit, but I heard that they used to take like beetles and crush them on their lips to make them more red, and they put all kinds of stuff on them themselves, like urine and dung and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Well, the beetle nut will make your lips turn red.
Oh, there you go.
It also gets you high.
Well, hey, all right. That's never, well, I'm not going to say that's never a bad thing. So the most recent I deal with people a lot that don't get vaccinated, that don't get their kids vaccinated. And I'm at a point now, and this was before the measles outbreak, I don't have that conversation with them too in depth anymore. When I first started practicing, I would really engage with patients and say, okay, well, tell me why you don't want the vaccine, why you don't want to give your kid the vaccine, what have you heard, what do you know? And after all these years, the reason why I don't do it anymore, I think, is one, they don't fucking know anything. It's a cultural thing. It's because my buddy doesn't get their kids vaccinated and we're going to go get some Birkenstocks and blah, blah, blah. It's a ridiculous fucking reason. So now, when I'm like, what are you basing that on? They have nothing to tell me that they're basing it on.
So they went in.
Just don't think it's a good idea.
Before they met you, they were uneducated, and when they left, they were ignorant.
Right. Well, you can't have. What is the point of me trying to teach someone anything?
Who doesn't want to learn?
That doesn't want to learn. I can't change that person's mind. It's the same with smoking. I don't tell my patients not to smoke. I just say, I'm going to say this to you every time I see you. I would really hope that someday you'll decide that you want to quit smoking. And when you decide that you want to quit smoking, please let me know and I will help you any way I can.
It's kind of what you say to me about my Mountain Dew.
Yeah, about your fucking Mountain Dew. With the anti-vaxxers, I don't see it today. And you actually look a little thinner.
I have. I've lost 12 pounds.
Nice job. I must have got it because I gained 10. I gained 10 in 1 month. Anyway, so why do I want to have that conversation? Now, it's not a matter of just not wanting to have the conversation because people are fucking ignorant. It's that I get pissed, too. So now, in my head, I just want to say to them, well, thank your neighbors for herd immunity, you dumb fuck. And this was before the big, huge measles outbreak that we have. Measles is so contagious. This is according to an infectious disease doctor at the Mayo Clinic. Measles is so contagious that if you come in contact with it and you're not immune, 90% of the people that come in contact with it will get it if they're not immune.
I believe it.
And the reason why the measles vaccine is so good is because the measles virus itself does not continuously change like the flu virus does. There's not 50 billion measles viruses variants. That's why the vaccine works so well. It's just targeting that fucking, and only humans can get it that we know of. So that drives me up a fucking wall. I'm like, okay, you don't fucking know what the fuck you're talking about. And
maybe that's why it doesn't mutate a whole lot, because like the flu can be passed between certain animals and people.
I don't know because I'm not a virologist. I'm not a virus person.
Virologist.
No, but again, that goes back to the whole thing. Why do you should be thanking the people that are around you, but if you're in one of these neighborhoods or if you're in this area where nobody vaccinates, guess what? If you bring it in, somebody brings it in, you're all getting it.
Everybody's in trouble.
And now if you think that measles is not a big deal, remember, I can still remember my old nursing instructor and I went to a conference and the nurse practitioner was talking to us about it again. And she was talking about when she was young and when she was a young nurse and things like that. They had measles wards.
Well, what's the fatality rate on the flu? Isn't it like
fatality rate?
3 or 4%?
Pretty freaking high.
Yeah. So that means 4 people out of 100 that get the flu will die from it.
I don't know if it's that high.
I think it's
pretty high.
It's high.
Not good. I don't think it's that high. I would say it's probably like
usually it's not 3, the flu that kills people. It's other complications involved.
It's the flu. Yeah, you can get it. You can still get like a viral pneumonia, or you go into respiratory compromise, respiratory failure.
Yeah, complications caused by the flu.
Well, it's still a flu.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, I forgot what I was going to say about that.
So you're asking how bad the measles is. Does it kill people?
Yeah. What's the fatality rate on the measles?
That's a good question. Fatality rate on measles.
Some Jeopardy music while we look this up.
Polio, pertussis, measles.
I'd get my phone out and look it up, but it makes the microphone click.
Makes the microphone click? Well, let's put it this way.
You complain about the noise it makes.
All right, here we go. So, it can stay in a room after a sick person has left it for up to 8 hours. Wrap your head around that. Worldwide, 150,000 people die every year from the measles. It used to be 500,000 before the vaccine. That's not the worst part.
No, of the people who get it.
Of the people who get it?
How many people will die?
Oh, I'm sure I have that statistic somewhere too. But we've also said that you don't believe in statistics. So.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Good to know that if you were born before 1957, you don't have to get the measles vaccine.
Herd immunity?
No, they already had it. Most people came in contact before that was before the MMR, and most people got the measles. Remember there was measles wards.
I never got a polio vaccination either.
Because we eradicated it.
Well, that's the one that leaves the big scar on your arm, right?
Well, I would say no, that's smallpox.
Oh, well, then that's the one I didn't get. My brother and sister both got it, but I didn't.
Smallpox is basically considered eradicated also. Because of vaccines. Mm-hmm. And we've had vaccines for that since 1798 is when the first smallpox vaccine started. That's amazing. All right, here we go. So, of the people that get measles, 1 out of 25 will contract pneumonia. 1 to 3 out of 1,000 will die. That's a lot.
0.3%.
That's a lot. Imagine. It doesn't seem like a lot because it's out of 1,000 people, but it's a lot when it's your kid. Or if you're a pregnant woman and you contract the measles, there's a good chance that that's teratogenic. In other words, it's going to kill the child. The permanent possible complications of the measles include blindness, encephalitis, which means swelling of your brain meat, that can cause convulsions, deafness, seizures. That could lead to also anoxic brain injuries, which means brain injuries from not getting enough oxygen.
On the subject of pregnant women.
I think pregnant women are pretty.
Yeah. But no, that's not what I was going to say.
I figured that's where you're going.
If they have if they've had the vaccination, does their baby, while they're still, before they're born, does the fetus share that immunity?
Yes.
Until they're born, and then they have to get their own vaccination.
Yeah,
right?
There's a fancy term for that, and it's called immunity.
It
is called, not acquired. It's called, man, I should know that. But I don't.
It's been a long time.
It's immunity from your mom. Yeah, you're still immune, thankfully, from your mom for the first 3 months of life-ish, I think.
If you're breastfeeding.
No? Just in general.
Oh.
Yeah. That's when then vaccines start pretty quickly.
Oh. Well, I was curious about that because I was thinking that for people who don't vaccinate, that maybe the pregnant women would be at risk. So, I mean, you may think that you're exercising your rights not to get vaccinated against the measles, for example, but
that's what it's all about.
It's a chink in the argument, saying, well, if everybody else at the school is vaccinated, then what does it matter if my kid is vaccinated? It's between me, my kid, and my doctor, right? That's what some of them will say. But if my kid is not vaccinated and I send him to school among those who are, and somehow the virus gets on to one of them and they carry it home to their mom who has a little brother or little sister on the way, well, then that adds a whole new level of complication. But since it's not an issue,
it is still that's my point with all of it a lot too when I talk about it, is that when people tell me they won't vaccinate, and this is for other health conditions too, when somebody tells me they won't vaccinate, I will say to them, okay, that is your choice, that you're not going to vaccinate. All these other people are vaccinated. You might get hopefully some herd immunity, but you also have to remember that as a human, we should care about the human race. It's not all about, everybody wants to only care about them. That's all they care about. They only want to care about them. Like, well, are you not a member of the human race? Do you not give a fuck about the rest of us? It's like the people who get into, when truck drivers, right? Truck drivers have to come see us. They get these annual exams, right? Or whatever. A lot of them get failed because they shouldn't drive a fucking truck. And they get pissed at you when you fail them. Like, well, let's see. Your diabetes is out of control. You're going to have these periods of really high blood sugar, et cetera, or you might dump your blood sugar, and you're so out of control that you need to go on insulin. And for a while there, now they'll allow it, but they didn't allow you to be on insulin and drive a truck. So
because they might fall asleep at the wheel.
We take you off the road, and all they want to do is say, you're ruining my life. You know, I can't drive now. I'm not going to have an income. I'm not going to have all these things. As they're talking to you and they're 300 pounds and they shove fucking ho-hos in their mouth 24 hours a day. And you know what I tell them? It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about you driving a giant weapon.
Can't they claim disability anyway? I mean, if they have an illness which takes them away from their job, they can claim disability. And that would be a perfect opportunity for them to start doing something about their weight, to start eating right, maybe do a little exercise, and maybe they can get back to a point where they wouldn't need the insulin anymore.
Well, most of the time we could approve them for like 3 months. We'd say, okay, I'm going to give you 3 months. If you don't have it improved in 3 months. But a lot of times they're so unhealthy that you just have to take them off the road. You take them off the road. But the point is, why would I want you driving down the road? You go into, you have a very bad hypoglycemic episode or something, or you have a heart attack because you've got uncontrolled diabetes, which puts you at a high risk of having a heart attack, and you run off the road and you kill a family of 4. It's not about you.
Could have been prevented, right?
It's about the human race. It's about the greater good. So again, with the vaccines, if it is proven that, and we say nothing is 100%. The other thing is, even if I gave you this vaccine, okay, it's like any other medical treatment. I give you this vaccine, you have a horrible reaction to it, okay? Maybe you have a seizure. Maybe you even have an anaphylactic reaction. Maybe you have to get vented, tubed, whatever. Maybe you die, okay? There's 999 other people that nothing's going to happen to them. But we've prevented a scourge of an illness.
In the words of Spock, the good of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
Yeah, I believe he got that from a famous philosopher
Did
on the Earth.
I have no clue.
On the Earth, No, but that's the point. I could see the benefit of splitting up the vaccines. I could see the benefit of doing that. What I can't see the benefit of is spreading fear over some fucking twit or twat makes a statement. Every time it doesn't matter what your credentials are. If I got up a wild hair up my ass and I went with my original study and I made the most noise, you better believe that there would be a lot of people out there that would stop taking Prilosec. Even though I'm not an expert on anything, I've got a doctorate, so I can make some noise.
Just because you plant a seed in the minds of people who would rather take someone else's word for it than learn for themselves. And that is a vast majority of the people.
And now with the use of social media, I could actually have a giant following of people that believe that, and I could still spread my little cancer all over the place. And no matter what gastroenterologist says, there's still going to be people that believe me. Even if the Gastroenterology Society of America, I don't know if that's what you guys are called, sorry. Even if that's what they said, that I was wrong, and they showed you 100 studies that said I was wrong, I would still have a following of people that believe me.
Once upon a time, they used to call that ability the poison pen. Now we can rename it the poison pixel because it's on a screen.
It's ridiculous. It's sad. And I don't know what to do about it anymore. And when I'm very honest with patients. Sometimes people just ask me stuff. They're just conversational. Not everybody's like a quick visit. Sometimes I have more time, and sometimes people just ask me questions.
I have some advice for you. Help the people you can, and don't worry about the people you can't.
Well, I've finally done that.
And you'll sleep better at night.
Well, it's either that, which I've done over the past, I don't know, 5-6 years. Okay. It's that, and get the fuck out. Get the fuck out of it and don't do it anymore. So people listening to my podcast, get me the fuck out of that job because it's a thankless job. I can't help that many people out of the, if I was in a busy practice, which I'm not now, I'm just kind of chilling out in the practice I'm at. But if I was in a busy practice like I used to be, out of the 120 people I see in a week, I don't know how many of them I actually helped. No matter how hard I tried, because...
You don't know if they took your advice and went home and followed what you told them to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a frustrating position. It's like banging your head against the wall all the time. And when you meet providers, doctors, nurse practitioners, PAs, nurses that are frustrated, EMTs, that are frustrated and can't understand why, and you can't understand why they're so frustrated, well, talk to them. They'll tell you why. Because nobody fucking listens. You only, and it's the same thing with good compliments. It's so rare to have someone give you a compliment for doing your job, as opposed to just expecting whatever and still not listening to you and treating you like you're dumb. It's not, people treat me like I'm dumb all the time. I'm like, well, I'm glad I went to school and I've practiced this long. For someone to tell me, no offense to people who work in the fast food industry or a factory or who the checkout line at Walmart, but when you're telling me all the time how you're so much smarter than I am, then I'm like, well, then I wasted my time. I guess I shouldn't have gone to college and done this.
Intelligence isn't a measure of necessarily what you know, as much as your ability to learn. So the difference between intelligence and wisdom is knowing something and how to use it.
And knowing
is half the battle. Go Joe.
Go Joe. Now, so my point is this. Are vaccines good? Yes. It is.
Overall,
yes. Are there risks with getting vaccinated?
Yes.
Absolutely. Does the benefit personally outweigh the risk? And does the benefit as a member of the human race outweigh the risk? Yes, it does.
I'd like to add one thing in terms of the vaccinations. Chances are whatever reaction the kid is going to have to the vaccination is going to be less severe. If they have a reaction at all, it's going to be far less severe than actually having the measles.
Right. And that's overall in general with all of them. So if you look at, for example, they developed a vaccine for Haemophilus influenza type B. Okay. Common bacterium that causes bacterial meningitis. Bacterial meningitis is the bad one. You got viral and you got bacterial. Bacterial is the one that fucking kills you. Doesn't 100% of the time, but it does kill a lot of people.
It is also very contagious.
Mm-hmm. And it will, you see it run rampant sometimes through colleges, which is scary. That's why you got to get vaccinated. It can make people lose their limbs, all kinds of horrible things. Since we introduced that vaccine, those infections have dropped dramatically. And it's not because of anything else. It's not because somebody had a better diet or we've cleaned up air pollution, which we haven't. There's a direct correlation between that and vaccines. So I do agree that people should have a choice. Here's my question to you, though. Do you think because of the recent measles outbreak, and specifically in the Hasidic Jewish community, which they speculate that it probably came from the Ukraine or Israel or a combination of the two, do you think that now they're saying that they can't even go out of their house, they're trying to pass, they're fining them, all kinds of things. Do you think that it should be that the government should have the right to tell the American people that they have to be vaccinated?
As much as I disagree with them for not getting vaccinated, no, I don't think the government has the authority to tell them, no, you can't leave your house. Because the majority of the people out there are vaccinated. The greater good is still being served. So now what they what they might do is, if they're going to say that these unvaccinated kids can no longer attend that public school, then perhaps they should tax the community that believes that they should not be vaccinated and create a separate school for the unvaccinated. And then they could go to school, they could practice and follow their own beliefs, and they wouldn't be putting everybody up in arms about it. To give them their own segregation, so to speak. I know segregation is kind of a severe word to use, but in some cases, it's better than the alternative of, quarantine.
Well, I think this is a particularly really bad issue, and it's really difficult because we're looking at a community that is unique. It's a Hasidic Jewish community that has the majority of the cases right now in New York. So when you look at a community that's easily identified, what is the reaction of the people who are not of that faith in that same neighborhood around them? I feel that there's going to be some major prejudices, major issues, major social trauma related to that. We don't know any Hasidic Jewish people, I don't think, but I've seen Seinfeld. They wear all the black. They've got the special hair braids or whatever, so they're easy to pick out. So even if you are a Hasidic Jewish person and you are vaccinated, you're probably going to face social stigma because everybody's going to think that you're not when they see you and cross the street and try to stay away from you.
Yeah, I can see that as a problem.
And this is a culture that notoriously has been persecuted,
but that is
forever.
And not to sound cold at heart, but that is their problem.
But what if they're already vaccinated? What if they're doing everything to protect the human race?
That's still their problem. And that is between them and the people who are making those assumptions about them. And I believe there are, if I were vaccinated and someone started giving me shit about measles vaccination because I was Jewish, for example, like somebody in that community might be, I think there are lawsuit options that they could take to correct those people in a way that they will not soon forget.
Are you talking about a legal aspect just because you're Jewish in this scenario?
No.
You just naturally assume that you've got a lawyer. Like I just naturally assume that my brother,
or maybe I am a lawyer.
My brother is a lawyer, or I am one as well. I also do
lawyers and accountants.
I also do some producing of small independent film studios.
Now who's being racist? But anyway, they do have legal repercussions that they can serve on the people making those assumptions. That's why I say that is an issue between them and the people making the assumptions. We don't need to get involved. Those things can take care of themselves.
I don't think that the government should tell us that we have to be vaccinated.
Correct.
I don't think that.
I agree.
And maybe that's just a stupid American mentality thing for me, that I don't think the government should tell us everything that we have to do.
It's just like the subject of gay marriage. Mm-hmm. It's the government's job to document that the marriage happened and mediate in the event that the marriage ends. But it is not up to the government to determine who can marry who or why. Mm-hmm. I think the government oversteps their bounds on a regular basis, and that's just one more example of it.
Well, they're definitely overstepping their bounds on abortion right now, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they should tell us that we have to get vaccinated, but what I think should happen is this. I think that we should... It's kind of like, you remember the movie Independence Day?
Yeah, good movie.
Where the president is telling, this is our independence. We come together as whatever, earthlings or as one... Whatever. One
we
fighting
will not
force.
Go gently into that good night.
We will not take it up the ass. We will deliver the unlubricated fist of justice.
Until the fat lady sings.
Up the whatever posterior end rectal area of that alien invading force. No. What I think we should do is There should be some sort of measure of globalism in saying, hey, can't we all come together and realize that we're bringing it back, man? Do you guys want to see smallpox again? Do you want polio to come back? Is there a risk?
I do not like I don't like globalism.
You don't like globalism. You don't want us to be humans.
No, I think it's a mistake to
You think it's a mistake for us
to
all to
use
be humans?
globalism because people are so different. I think that there's a certain amount of separation.
I'm not talking about us all believing in the same religion. I'm not talking about us all
But
believing
that's
in the
what
same social norms.
globalism includes.
I'm talking about us saying, as a human race, maybe we should recognize that this is an issue and it's going to get bad before it gets better. I shouldn't be, 46 as a practicing provider having to see measles when I was told it was gone forever ago, and now I'm going to see it again. And believe it or not, you can get measles and develop symptoms from the secondary complications of it years later. I mean, that basically there's a brain condition that you can get that is essentially brain damage from the measles virus that is like your kid now has dementia.
I didn't know that.
So there's all kinds of horrible things. But in general, I'm not just talking about measles. I'm talking about in general. There's so much good that has come from vaccinations and so little bad that has come from it, but we blame all the little bad. If there's a case of polio vaccine that came out in the 50s or whatever, and roughly 200,000 people got this vaccine. Well, the virus wasn't inactivated. Something happened with it. The virus wasn't inactivated, and they basically got the live virus.
Holy crap.
So what happens then? Another scare for vaccinations.
Well,
so
see, that's another problem, though. I mean, when there's an accountability problem, when something like that happens, the company should be made, like, if Pfizer makes a drug and makes a mistake like that, they should be basically shut down and make room for someone else to step in and take their place in the pharmaceutical market. I don't think there should be zero tolerance in that market.
Well, there essentially is. I mean, there are fail safes in place for that.
Well, it's just like the insurance companies. They have such a stranglehold on the entire country that the measures, like if they do something that costs you the lives of one of your kids, and they're clearly at fault, they have dollar limits. Oh, so many millions of dollars you can sue for. In the bigger picture, they're making billions each year. What's the big deal to them?
Yeah,
they're not going to think about that.
Devil's
They're not
advocate
going to.
wise is the millions of dollars going to bring your kid back?
No, but the idea is supposed to make the company suffer and think twice before allowing something like that to happen again. And it doesn't. It's like a $5 parking ticket to a billionaire. It's not a big deal.
But
they're not going to think about it.
But again, it goes back to what I said, though. If you're looking at one little complication out of a million people, they're going to pay for it. They're going to offer restitution, etc. But you helped a million people, and one person had this effect.
Well, it's side effects. I mean, the people are warned about side effects before they get the vaccinations and things like that. That's a different issue. I'm talking about like where they didn't inactivate the virus before giving it out.
Well, but if you had a process in place for it and you had no problems with it, and then there was something that went wrong, you wouldn't know
They
until
should
after
still be held right.
Well, they were held accountable, but they were held accountable.
Probably not.
No, they were.
Oh,
this is back in the 50s, and other countries have like stuff in place, like Great Britain or whatever has enacted actual things in place like that says specifically, if you did something for the greater good, you got vaccinated, right? They have provisions that say, should something happen to your child, etc., or you or something like that happens, they have stuff specifically set aside. They get this amount of money or whatever because you did something that was helpful for the human race, and you were that 1% that had something happen to them. And all these companies that, let's put it this way. You can make a drug and show that it works for a specific reason and show that you did all your clinical trials and you had this amount of people that had this problem, this amount of people that had this problem, and I didn't kill a bunch of people, so we can release this drug, okay? Drug gets released. You can release a drug without knowing how it works. That's something that should be more concerning for people than any other thing else. And then maybe we release this drug and in our clinical trial, we used it on 10,000 people. That's a huge number. But now that it's out there and it's being used on millions of people, now we start to see these crazy things that we never saw in the clinical trial, and we pull the drug. Okay? That happens all the time. So does that mean that every single one of them are going to go and sue the company? Maybe. But like you said, yeah, it's not going to make a big dent, but they have shit set aside for them to be held accountable. Is it going to shut down the company? Fuck no.
I think they ought to handle the pharmaceuticals like they do music. Rather than, like right now, they get a patent on a particular drug. And if the company that holds the patent is the only one allowed to make the drug. Now, if it were music, I can buy a CD and I can replay that music for other people. Now, it would require me to pay a fee for or a percentage for playing that song to the author of the song or the people who performed it. Now, if they did that with pharmaceuticals as well, then we would have multiple companies, whoever can make it and provide it for less.
Well, we do have that. That's what generics are. And there's multiple companies that make generics.
Yeah, but the generics don't come out until the patent is released. And I think that takes 20, 25 years, something like that?
No, not 20, 25 years. It's variable on each one, I think. I don't think they have a specific set number of days or years. But the thing with that is, I don't think it makes any fucking difference. I don't think it makes any fucking difference.
Viagra, for example, how long has that been out?
I don't know. I don't use it. You tell me. When was the last time you got some?
And then they talked they recently came out with a generic. Oh, I saw a commercial.
They didn't recently come out with a generic because I've been writing for the generic for years.
Really? Just straight sildenafil or whatever? Yeah.
When a drug comes out by its name brand, I'm pretty sure a generic comes out right away. You can't make the you can't make the exact drug. You can have the base component, and then you can have your other whatever stuff. Maybe it's a different dye or whatever. It's slightly different, but it's the same. It's the same base component.
Yeah, the pills they showed in the commercial weren't blue.
No,
no.
Well, they don't have to be blue for them to work. But no, there's very few things that I've never seen anything that doesn't have a generic that I've written for. So I don't know. I think pretty much as soon as they make them, a generic comes out for them. Because it's usually made by the same company that made the...
Well, why would you ever buy the name brand then?
Well, there's some weird insurance plans that some of them will cover the name brand, but they don't cover the generic. And there's other ones that will cover generic, but they won't cover the name brand. So most of the time, I don't even know the names of the majority of stuff that's name brand because I've always written for generic. Funny thing that was 2 years ago when we had the flu outbreak, I was writing for oseltamivir for all of the patients with the flu that had the flu. And then I kept getting all these denials, and they're like, you have to write for Tamiflu. I'm like, what? You know what I meant, and Tamiflu's the name brand, and oseltamivir is the generic. And I wrote for the generic, and they wouldn't give it to them because they had to have the name brand written. And this was Medicaid.
Some deal they probably made with the politician.
It was just
pharmaceutical company buying off a politician.
It was just weird and convoluted as usual. My point of all this was that...
Get your damn kids vaccinated.
Get your kids vaccinated or I'll punch you again. I think that we're here and I wrote this down. I think we're here because individual doctors make claims and they get media attention. But what about the 99% of us that are following guidelines or following treatment plans that have been laid in place for us that we learned about? And there's not a billion outliers like everybody thinks. Why isn't anybody listening to us? I think what they're doing in general is they are practicing their own agenda instead of by science, by media.
People with the most money win. That's how they get heard. That's why usually when you hear politicians talking about how much money they made, it means they're a stronger candidate because they have more money to get their message out.
Well, that's kind of the opposite, though, with medicine.
It should be.
That's the opposite. We've got these huge organizations that are dedicated to these different areas of medicine. And they're the ones who are putting out the information that is important to know. And then you have these little rinky-dinks over here that are gathering their little following of quacks. And they're getting all the media attention. And then all of a sudden, everybody thinks that they're much more intelligent.
Yeah, they're trying to get their piece of the pie.
An entire society that has money telling you, no, you're wrong. And government organizations telling you, no, you're wrong.
But they want that money too. So they have to do something to get attention in order to get their foot in the door.
All right, because
that's how they get their money.
Because they're going to come up with some ground up camel dung, and that's going to be their, that's going to be the secret to curing all of your ills. So
you ever seen that movie with Sean Connery, Medicine Man?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah,
that was sad.
Love that movie.
It was sad. That poor guy. Yeah. Anyway. But no, that's my point. If I really wanted to, it goes back to our cult leader one. When I was telling you about what it takes to be a good cult leader, you just have to find people out there who are susceptible to your vision. It doesn't even have to be one that you believe in. And most of the time, that's why this whole thing with Andrew Wakefield, I think, is such crap, because either he has lived this lie so long that he truly believes that the MMR vaccine causes autism, or he's tired of being proved wrong, and he's so stubborn that he's not going to admit that he was wrong.
I wonder how much money he made in the process.
He made, according to one report I read, he got paid $400,000 during the making of this study. 400,000 pounds. And this was in the 90s.
That's probably closer to $500,000.
Well, in the 90s.
Yeah.
It might be closer to
the pound.
And they almost two to three, up to $4 per pound.
Maybe $2.
Yeah,
I don't know that it was ever.
Either
that big
way,
of a
it's more
difference.
money than he deserved to get, but he made a lot of money. And how much money has he made? But just from the publicity of good old Jenny McCarthy jumping on the autism MMR bandwagon, also. So I just think that I have no answer. My answer is this: think about the greater good. What's the greater good? If there are things out there that we do in medicine that harm people, but when we find out that something is harming more than it needs to, or more than, if something is not effective and it's causing more harm than good, it doesn't last. It goes away. That's our job, is to, well, I don't take the Hippocratic Oath because I'm not an MD or a DO, but it's still the same premise. We're not out there to harm people. As soon as we find out something is harmful, it may have passed through clinical trials and did just fine in a clinical trial. When it gets out into real world application, if we find out something is bad,
you stop.
It stops. And large organizations come in and go, oh my God, we're getting all these reports, because that's what we do. We report adverse events so that there is that research out there. There's that collection of data to get things to stop. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get the whole idea. It doesn't make any sense to me. I never thought twice about getting my children vaccinated. And if...
Oh, I did. I paused. I actually took time to read the consent forms and the list of side effects and things like that. But again, I was thinking of the same thing, where the side effects that they might encounter are probably going to be less than the disease that they might get.
Right.
So if I think my oldest boy, he got a vaccination that gave him a little bit of a temperature for the rest of the day. And then the next day, everything was fine.
And so he mounted an immune response.
Right.
Like he's supposed to.
Right. Yeah. That's about the worst reaction I've seen among all my kids.
I think that, again, for the people here in this country, because we're spoiled, what we did, we have the right, and we think it's our right, and we think we should deny these things that are important. Maybe go talk to people that are in a third world country that don't even get the option to get vaccinated. The people that have seen real world tetanus, they've seen polio, they've seen all these horrible things that we can't imagine.
I've seen tetanus.
So not good stuff to see.
Yeah.
And not something that you would want to encounter yourself or for your family to encounter. So that's it. That's my spiel. That's once again telling people, you know, honestly, you don't know what you fucking think you know. Every day, I revel in the fact that I really don't know that much. Sadly, I don't know very much. But I know a hell of a lot more than most people. And I still consider myself stupid. So get off your fucking high horses. You're not that fucking smart. But if you're listening to Beaveman in the Doc, you clearly are very intelligent. And I would just encourage you to keep listening and share. Thank you very much. I'm not insulting you personally. I'm insulting the people that don't listen to Beaveman in the Doc.
But then again, if they started watching, then, we would think they were cool.
Right. Okay. Got anything else to add?
No. Send us money.
Send us, just listen. We had some slump in the numbers, but we get here and there where we'll hop up for no apparent reason. And as long as we got, I'm not greedy. Man, if we get 30 people a week, I'm pretty happy. That means at least somebody's listening.
Here's the question. Would you rather have 1 million listeners and have them send you a dollar a piece, or one listener who sends you $1 million?
Well, it's $1 million. So if somebody wants to send me $1 million, I'd be totally cool with that. That's an irrelevant question to me because I'll just take the $1 million, please. Thank you very much. Because I would like to do this. God, here's my plea to everyone: get me out of here. Get me out of this. I can't do this for 20 more years. I can't do it. Can't do it. I really want to go work at a donut shop. I think that would be great. If I can't make a living podcasting, I think donuts.
I did that.
Donuts would be great.
In high school, I used to work at a donut shop.
Well, high school was a long time for us. So, yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
I would do. All right, I got nothing else to add. So this has been Beaveman in the Doc. I am the Beaveman coming to you from the Renegade Studios. Renegade Beaver Studios.
Uh-huh.
No longer LLC, just Renegade Beaver Studios. And saying adios, mooch fuckos.
Crickets, bitches.
Okay, I know I said goodbye, but I was kidding.
So call this take two.
Take two to saying goodbye. Okay, before I close out, as I mentioned in previous podcasts, I'm going to do some interviews. I did my first one with Ricky. I'm going to do one next week also. It's a little bit extra content for everyone, but I'm working on questions for guests. So I'm going to run a couple of these by Doc and see how he thinks.
I talked to Rick, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, just a couple days ago.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you have to say?
It almost sounded like he was about to apologize because you were so much nicer to him than you are to me.
I was interviewing a guest. He's not the co-host. Okay. Random questions here. Trying these out because there's some serious ones and then some just regular questions. Most of them are not serious. Do you like Pokemon?
It's okay.
God, fucking yes or no, dick.
Sure.
Okay. What's your favorite Pokemon? See, you should have said no, because now you don't know any fucking Pokemon. If you fucking say Pikachu.
No, it's not. I like the ones that look like dragons.
Like any... Are you talking about like Charizard?
Charizard. That's
okay, there's more than one that looks like a dragon, but that's fine. Okay, so that's a question that if you don't know, that's why you say no. I don't like Pokemon, or I don't know shit about it. Okay.
It's just because you don't know about it doesn't mean you don't like it.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Ooh. If you had asked me that 10 years ago, I would have said Star Wars. But since Disney took over, I'm going to say Star Trek.
I would have assumed you were Star Trek anyway.
I like the whole mystical side of Star Wars. I think that's kind of cool.
Okay, well, we don't need to use this next question on you because I already know the answer.
What was the question? I'm curious.
Why do you need to know? Why
Because I'm curious.
Have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons or a similar role-playing game?
Yes.
Have you ever kissed a girl?
Yes.
All right, let's see. All right, here's a good one. I like this one. Who would win in a fight, Daffy Duck or Donald Duck? That's really long.
I'm going to say Donald Duck.
You're going to say Donald Duck?
He's
so fucking angry. He's just so fucking angry.
Cantankerous. That's the name that comes to mind when I think of him.
Okay, here's a good one.
Although Daffy Duck does play Darkwing Duck, and Darkwing Duck is kind of like Batman.
And he also plays when Marvin the Weasel with Martian. He's Duck Dodgers. He's also Duck Dodgers.
Yes.
So, but he's hilarious as Duck Dodgers. Anyway, I think that Donald Duck would win. Also,
yeah, I think Daffy's Duck is
cool.
funnier though.
Daffy Duck is way cooler than Donald Duck, in my opinion. Okay, here's a good one. What is Goofy?
I think he's a dog.
Is he? I don't know.
Some kind of dog.
Well, This is just an opinion question. I'm not really sure.
Well, did you hear?
These are my psychological profile questions.
Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse got divorced because she was fucking goofy.
Yeah, he's fucking goofy. Okay, how about there's more animated stuff here. Okay, here's a good one. Stupid lip smacking. How often do you have the dream where you can't stop pooping?
Never. You've asked me that before.
That was a good guess question, though. All right, how about this one? How often do you have the dream where you're pooping in the middle of a crowded restaurant or similar location?
Never.
God, something's wrong with me. All right. Let's see. How about this one?
You have these dreams.
How about this one? How often do you have the dream that you pee in your kitchen utensil drawer or in random places instead of the bathroom?
I don't remember ever dreaming about peeing.
I'm sure everyone else does. You're just unique. Okay. I'm sure you've had this dream. How often do you have the dream where you poop, but no matter how much you wipe, it's constantly a poopy mess?
Never.
I don't either. I don't have any of these dreams.
I've had dreams where I thought I was in the dream I was flying, and
that's totally
I couldn't fly faster or get higher off the ground than just a few feet. So I would try and fly away from danger, and I couldn't escape.
I've had it where I was able to fly really well, but then I tried again, like for some specific situation, but I could only get like 2 inches off the ground.
Yeah,
it was like I'm avoiding. You know how hard it is to avoid stuff, and when you only get 2 inches, like what would be the point of flying then?
I've had recurring dreams where I levitated in the dream.
Maybe you were just exercising your buttock muscles.
Something.
Anyway, all right. So now I'm saying goodbye for real. Those were just some test questions I was trying out for my psychological profile testing for my guests when I have them. As we can tell you, as you can see by the questions that I asked, Doc is a liar. All right.
Liar? What the hell?
Clearly he has all those dreams. All right. Again, adios, mooch fuckos.
Crickets, bitches.